joined with former Razorback Jimmy Dykes as we reflect and remember Eddie Sutton. And Coach, we talked to you when he was inducted as a part of the Hall of Fame earlier in the year. And one of the great things you talked about was what he taught you off the court and the 3Ds that he implemented in the game of basketball. Remind us again about those things that you remember about Eddie Sutton.
Yeah, he was grounded, Alyssa, in dedication, discipline, and defense. Not only on the basketball court, but just away from the court, and how we were supposed to go about our day as a student athlete on that campus. And his impact has been heavy on so many of us. I know just personally, like no other man in my life has impacted me more other than my dad, than Coach Sutton. And I wouldn't be at ESPN where I am today. There's no way in the world I would be where I am if it wasn't for him. But he was just a phenomenal teacher of the game of basketball. Like, he's a Hall of Famer. And Arkansas is very blessed to have had a Hall of Fame coach lead that program. But at the end of the day, he was tough. He tough loved us with great passion and great urgency every single day of his life.
You talked about the impact of college basketball that he had. Some Arkansas fans might not know, but he had impact on 4 programs: Creighton, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Oklahoma State. So his touch was wide-ranging in this game of basketball. And as you look on Twitter, a lot of national people remembering Eddie Sutton today.
The common thread in all those programs, 2 things. They won, and they won by playing great defense. And, he comes out at Henry Iba coaching tree, and he never wavered from it. Never. Now, he changed offensively. We had different talent at Kentucky and Oklahoma State, but defensively, there was an accountability that he never went away from. And, no matter if you're trying to win an NBA title even these days, or a college championship, or a high school, if you're not elite at that end of the floor, you're just not going to pull it off. And it's not just my opinion. The analytics back it up, but it's all grounded back to those 3 words: dedication, discipline, and defense, that he never wavered from. And I'm really thankful that he never did.
On Twitter today, you shared about how you didn't make the travel squad your first year, and so you were in charge of watching Heather, his dog. Talk about that and how that sticks out in your mind right now.
Yeah, I learned a lot my first year under him because, I didn't get to travel, and I wasn't getting playing time. But that year really shaped my life in a lot of ways, looking back, because I learned how to handle when it doesn't go your way. I learned toughness. I learned to have a role. I learned to embrace a role. And I remember when Coach called me up to his office that day, he was just saying, "Man, you're going to have a great future here with me at Arkansas. And you're going to be put you on my staff when we're done. And, this first away game now, it's going to be tough." And I kept waiting for him to say, "And the plane's going to leave at 11 a.m. Instead, he said, "I need you to be at my house at 10 a.m. to house sit and take care of our dog Heather while we're gone." And I made sure that dog was well taken care of. I can tell you that, because Coach trusted me. And at the end of the day, I never want to disappoint Coach Sutton. I think that's how all great coaches are. They have that ability to put that into people, whether he's trusting you to take care of his English sheepdog, or he's trusting you to make free throws in the final 10 seconds of a game. But those are some great memories. I babysat his dog and his kids probably as much or more than anybody over a 4-year period, and became very, very close to that family.
One of the biggest memories that Arkansas fans remember is that 1984 game against UNC in Pine Bluff, where you beat Michael Jordan and the Tar Heels. What do you remember about that game?
I remember we had to fly into Pine Bluff the morning of the game, because we'd had a game the day before at SMU, and we couldn't get in there because of a storm. And we flew in the day of the game, had very, very small scouting report when we got there. I remember guys were getting their ankles taped on the flight because we were running that close to landing and having to go straight to the arena. And I just also remember the talent that North Carolina had on that floor, with a Hall of Fame coach himself. And Coach Sutton had that magical ability, Alyssa, that we never one time thought that we're going to be outcoached no matter who he was up against. It was that way with him as a player. It was that way with him when I was coaching with him at Kentucky and Oklahoma State. Like, he knew he was the better coach, and he had that confidence. He instilled it in us as players and coaches, and we had that confidence that day that we knew North Carolina was number one and they were undefeated. But not only did we have Darrell Walker, Alvin Robertson, and Joe Klein, we had Eddie Sutton, and they didn't.
If there was a Mount Rushmore for Arkansas head coaches, Eddie Sutton would be on it. How much does he mean to this state, to this program, and to college basketball?
Bud Walton wouldn't be Bud Walton if it weren't for Eddie Sutton, who made Barnhill, and therefore we had to have a Bud Walton arena. You know, Eric Musselman would not be your coach right now if it weren't for Eddie Sutton, because he put Arkansas on the map in terms of a big time program, and that still resonates with college coaches out there and people out there that understand the history of the game. And for Arkansas to have two Hall of Fame coaches in Nolan Richardson and Eddie Sutton, just in recent history, really, that have been a part of their program and led their program, and that's a huge blessing to this state. I know when Coach Sutton left, it wasn't in the most seamless transitions. It was a hard time for him, but I also know he had a deep love for the state of Arkansas and his time here. I think at his very core, he would always say, "My days in Arkansas were the best of my time."
How happy are you that Coach Sutton was able to see himself go into the Naismith Hall of Fame before he passed?
Yeah, that was the last thing that needed to be accomplished. And I was fortunate, Liz, to get to talk with him, I think about 3 or 4 hours after the announcement was made on that Saturday on ESPN. And he couldn't communicate back, but they held the phone up to his ear. And I just told him, like I'm sure all the other players did that day, the impact that he's had, the impact that he still has on me as a husband and as a dad, and how I try to go about my day. And I told him that I loved him, told him that, I appreciate everything that he ever did for me. And I wasn't an All-American or one of his key players that elevated him to the Hall of Fame, but he certainly treated me like one. That's how he was. He coached everybody the same, and he loved everybody the same. And he's had a tremendous impact on so many people. It's crazy for a guy to live their life and use a round ball to impact lives like he did. And he was a master at it. He's as good as we've ever had.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to reflect and remember Eddie Sutton. I know he was one of the greatest and one you're never going to forget.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Alyssa.